Welcome back, history lovers. Did you know that one single date, September 25th, changed the course of nations, shaped laws, discovered worlds, and even reached the stars? On this day, fierce battles were fought, oceans were discovered, America laid the foundation for freedom, national parks were created, independence was declared. Science warned us about our planet, Broadway lit up, and space exploration took bold new steps. Stay tuned, because these stories are not just history, they are lessons, warnings, and inspirations that still echo today. Let's travel back to medieval England, September 25th, 1066. The fields near Stamford Bridge became the stage for one of the most decisive battles in English history. On one side stood King Harold II, leading his wary but determined English army. On the other, the legendary Viking king Harald Hardrada, supported by thousands of fierce warriors who had crossed the sea with dreams of conquest. The clash was brutal and unforgiving. According to chronicles, a single Viking warrior held the narrow bridge against the English advance, cutting down dozens before finally being brought down. Yet, despite the ferocity of the Norsemen, Harald's disciplined forces ultimately overwhelmed them. Harald Hardrada himself fell in battle, struck down by an arrow, and with him ended the Viking ambitions to claim England. This victory was monumental. It effectively closed the chapter on the Viking Age in Europe. But it came at a terrible price. Harold's men were exhausted, bloodied, and in no shape to face another challenge. And fate had no mercy. Just 3 weeks later, Harold would march south to Hastings, where William of Normandy awaited. The triumph at Stamford Bridge was bittersweet, a high point of courage that set the stage for one of England's most dramatic turning points in history. Now, let's journey back to the Age of Exploration. It's September 25th, 1513. Spanish explorer Vasco Núñez de Balboa has been hacking his way through the dense, humid jungles of Panama for weeks. Imagine the scene: mosquitoes buzzing, torrential rains, swamps and mountains, making every step a brutal challenge. His expedition was hungry, tired, and uncertain of what lay ahead. But then, it happened. After climbing a high ridge, Balboa looked out and saw something no European had ever seen before. A vast, seemingly endless body of water stretching far beyond the horizon. It was the Pacific Ocean. Try to imagine the awe of that moment. For centuries, Europeans believed only in the Atlantic world. Suddenly, a new ocean, a new frontier, was revealed. This discovery didn't just change maps. It reshaped the balance of power, opened new trade routes, and set the stage for centuries of exploration, conquest, and global rivalry. Balboa's first sighting of the Pacific was more than a geographical discovery, it was a turning point in world history, showing humanity just how much bigger our planet truly was. Let's step into the halls of power in the young United States. It's September 25th, 1789. And the first Congress is gathered in Philadelphia. The air is thick with anticipation. Quills scratch across parchment, and the Founding Fathers debate passionately over the amendments that could define a nation. Imagine the weight of this moment. These men, many still fresh from revolution, understood that their decisions would shape not just their country, but the very idea of liberty for generations to come. They argued over freedoms of speech, religion, press, and assembly rights that were radical for their time and revolutionary in their scope. Each vote cast, each word recorded, carried the potential to protect the individual against the power of government. The Bill of Rights, born from these debates, would become a symbol of justice, equality, and human dignity, inspiring not only Americans, but countless people around the globe. Pause for a moment and picture it: the ink drying on the parchment, the trembling anticipation, the hope that these freedoms would endure through centuries of change and challenge. This is the very foundation of American democracy, and it all began on this historic September day. Let's journey to California in the late 19th century. September 25th, 1890, a day that would forever change how humans think about nature. Congress established Sequoia National Park, not just as a piece of land on a map, but as a sanctuary for the towering giant sequoias, the largest living organisms on our planet. Picture these majestic trees, some hundreds, even thousands of years old, stretching toward the sky, their trunks wider than most houses. For centuries, they had stood silently, witnesses to the passage of time, until humans realized their fragility. Logging and development threatened these natural giants, and conservationists argued passionately for their protection. Sequoia National Park wasn't just about protecting trees. It was about inspiring a new philosophy, that nature has intrinsic value, that it deserves respect and stewardship. This movement laid the groundwork for future national parks across the U.S. and around the world, turning the idea of conservation into a global priority. Imagine walking beneath these colossal trees today, their immense presence, their history, their resilience, a living testament to the vision and courage of those who fought to preserve them on that September day in 1890. Let's travel to Chicago in 1928. The bustling city was alive with the sounds of industry, cars rattling down streets, and the hum of innovation in the air. On September 25th, two brothers, Paul and Joseph Galvin, started a small company called Galvin Manufacturing Corporation. Their goal? To bring a new kind of magic to automobiles, the car radio. Imagine the excitement of hearing music, news, or sports broadcasts while driving a luxury that would have seemed like science fiction just a few years earlier. Their invention didn't just entertain, it connected people, transformed commuting, and paved the way for the communication revolution we rely on today. Galvin Manufacturing would later become Motorola, a name synonymous with innovation from car radios to mobile phones, walkie-talkies, and even technologies that helped explore space. It's a story of vision, persistence, and how a small invention can ripple across decades, reshaping the way we live, work, and connect. Now, let's travel to North Africa in 1962. After a long and bloody struggle against French colonial rule, Algeria finally achieved its independence on September 25, 1962, proclaiming the formation of the Democratic and Popular Republic of Algeria. Imagine decades of conflict, guerrilla warfare, and the determination of millions who fought for freedom. Independence wasn't just a political milestone, it was the culmination of sacrifice, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of a nation. This moment reshaped the region's geopolitics, inspiring anti-colonial movements across Africa and the world. The Algerian flag rising, the streets filled with jubilant crowds, and the voices of liberation echoing in every corner symbolized a new chapter not only for Algeria but for the global fight for self-determination. Now, let's focus on 1974, a year that marked a pivotal moment for our planet. Scientists had been studying the atmosphere and noticed something alarming. The ozone layer, Earth's natural shield against harmful ultraviolet radiation, was thinning at an unprecedented rate. Their research pointed to a surprising culprit: common aerosol sprays and refrigerants containing chlorofluorocarbons, or CF. On September 25, 1974, this warning began to spread, capturing the attention of governments, scientists, and the public. Imagine the shock. Everyday products like spray cans, air conditioners, and refrigerators, items we took for granted, were contributing to a problem that could affect all life on Earth. The implications were huge. Increased UV radiation meant higher risks of skin cancer, cataracts, and environmental damage. This discovery didn't just stay in the lab, it ignited the modern environmental movement. Inspiring activists and policymakers worldwide, it set in motion discussions that eventually led to global action, including the Montreal Protocol, one of the most successful international agreements in history. September 25, 1974, reminds us that science has the power to alert humanity to hidden dangers. It was a wake-up call that our choices, even seemingly small ones, have real consequences for the health of our planet, and it taught us that awareness and action can truly change the course of history. Let's travel to 1979 to the bright lights of Broadway in New York City. On September 25th, the musical Evita made its debut, telling the extraordinary life story of Eva Perón, the First Lady of Argentina. But this was no ordinary stage production. Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice crafted a show that combined powerful music, riveting storytelling, and historical drama in a way that captivated audiences from the very first note. People weren't just watching a performance, they were experiencing a story of ambition, struggle, and political power on a grand scale. Imagine the excitement in the theater that night, the orchestra swelling, the actors bringing history to life, and the audience hanging on every word and melody. Evita challenged perceptions, sparked conversations about leadership, gender, and social mobility. and highlighted the complexities of celebrity and politics. Its impact went far beyond Broadway. The musical toured internationally, won awards, and inspired countless adaptations. From recordings to films, September 25, 1979 wasn't just the premiere of a musical, it was the moment when history, culture, and art collided, creating a phenomenon that continues to influence theater and pop culture to this day. Now, let's travel to the early 1990s. On September 25, 1992, NASA launched the Mars Observer, a highly anticipated mission aimed at studying the red planet in unprecedented detail. Scientists and engineers had spent years designing the spacecraft to analyze Mars' atmosphere, surface, and magnetic field. It was a bold attempt to unravel the mysteries of our neighboring planet. Imagine the excitement at NASA Mission Control as the rocket soared into the sky, carrying humanity's hopes and curiosity toward another world. Every system check, every trajectory calculation was critical. The stakes were enormous. Tragically, despite a flawless launch, contact with the Mars Observer was lost just before it could begin its science operations. Yet, this loss was not the end. The mission provided valuable lessons, improving technology, communication protocols, and planning for future missions. It directly influenced later successes like Mars Global Surveyor, Spirit, and Opportunity rovers, and even today's Perseverance and Ingenuity. The Mars Observer reminds us that exploration is never guaranteed, but even failure drives progress. Each attempt, each setback, brings humanity one step closer to understanding the red planet and our place in the universe. Fast forward to the 21st century. On September 25, 2008, China made history with the launch of Shenzhou 7, sending 3 astronauts into orbit. This mission was monumental not just because of the spacecraft itself, but because, for the first time, a Chinese astronaut performed a spacewalk, stepping into the vacuum of space beyond the safety of the capsule. Imagine the precision, training, and courage it took to perform this operation. The astronaut floated above Earth, tethered only by a thin line, witnessing our planet from a perspective that few humans have ever experienced. This mission marked a turning point in the global space race. Until then, spacewalks had been dominated by American and Russian astronauts. Shenzhou 7 demonstrated that China was emerging as a major player in space exploration, inspiring a generation of scientists, engineers, and dreamers back on Earth. It was a symbol of ambition, national pride, and the relentless human drive to explore beyond the known. This historic day reminded the world that the cosmos is no longer the domain of only a few. It belongs to all who dare to reach for the stars. And there you have it, September 25th, a day of battles and discoveries. Laws and freedoms, science and art, victories and warnings. From medieval England to the jungles of Panama, from the halls of Congress to the vastness of space, this single date has left a mark on every corner of history. Which of these stories amazed you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to hear them. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell, so you never miss another episode of the days that shaped our world.